All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right, can y'all see my screen? Feel free to speak up or just throw it in the chat.
I can see it.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, well, welcome everybody. This is CS Fundamentals. Today we're going to be talking about Python, which is a very popular and easy language. It reads or writes, I should say, a lot like English. And so you're just talking to the computer. So we're going to learn a little bit about how to talk to computers today. My name's Thomas. I'll be teaching y'all. And so I sent out a link to where we'll be writing our code today. So did anybody have issues with that? No. All right. So what we're going to be making today is a text-based adventure game. And what that looks like, here's a small example that someone else has made. But what a text-based adventure game is exactly what it sounds like. It's just text, and then you type in to do actions to move through the story. And so here is an example. So it says that we're west of a house. You're standing in an open field west of a house with a boarded front door. There's a small mailbox. And so some things that you could do, let's try to open mailbox. So you see it says opening the small mailbox reveals a leaflet. And so you could read the leaflet. And so the idea is you're presenting a story to the user or whoever's playing the game, and you type commands versus a lot of other video games where you have a character and you move them around. This is just a text-based, you're telling a story. So it's very simple and a great way to learn Python. All right, so moving on to this is where we'll be coding today. And so one of the most important things for a computer is to be able to talk to a person. And so the way that a computer can talk to a person is with what's called a print statement. So this is a print statement that says hello world. And so let's just try running it. Let's see what happens. So on the right, this is where the code outputs to the people, to whoever's using it. And so we can see that says hello world. And so whatever's in here is now over here. So, and then if y'all have any questions or I'm going too fast or too slow, feel free to stop me, throw a question in the chat. So let's play around with this. We can, let's say, hello, CS, fun. We run it again. Oh, there we go. It says hello CS fundamentals. So whatever we put in here is going to show up over here. And now what's cool about this website is on the right, we can type in commands. So we can say print hi and type enter, and it's going to run it over here. And so we're going to start off today playing around over here and messing around with this side just so we can learn some of the important parts of Python. So if y'all just kind of follow along with me. So print, PRINT, this is how you output to, this is called the terminal. And so it's how you talk to the user. And so print, and we can print our name. So print Thomas. And so it shows up my name. But it's only so useful if we have to type exactly what we want to print. What if we wanted to print a collection of things? So we wanted to say print Thomas, but then we also wanted to say CS. Ooh, sorry. We also wanted to say CS fundamentals. And so if you separate with the comma, now we can print multiple things. So printing is going to be a very important part of how we write our text-based game. But what we also need to be able to do is store information. So if a user comes in, maybe the first thing we want to do is get their name. And so what we need to learn about are variables. So variables store information. And so we can name a variable anything we want, and then we just say equals. So if we have a variable called X, we say equals, and now we can say Thomas. And then nothing happens right after. You can't see what's going on. But now, if we wanted to see what's inside X, we can see print X, and you can see that it has Thomas in there. So what a variable does is it just holds information. Are there any questions about that? Or should I keep on going? All right. So X is a variable and it holds information. So X is Thomas, but maybe we can change X and we can say X is CS fundamentals. And now if we want to see what's inside X, we see that it changes to CS fundamentals. So another thing that we need to be able to store are numbers. So there's two types of variables, two types of data. There's actually many more, but the two that we'll talk about right now are what are called strings, which are words or sentences. So strings are words or sentences. So words or sentences. And you have to put it inside of these quotes. That's how you make a string. So string are words or sentences. So strings, words or sentences. But there's also numbers. So number is exactly what it sounds like. It's just any number, and you don't need to put quotations around it. And so here we can print our numbers. It's 10. We can change the number. So let's make it 11. And now if we print numbers, it says 11. So with numbers, you can also do math. So maybe we want to do 10 plus 5. We can just type that in and it says 15. So it's able to, the Python is able to do simple math. You can also do more complex math. You can do 2 times 2, which is 4. And so Python's able to do this math, but we can also store that into a variable, just like we did before. So we can say math equals 10 plus 5. And then nothing happens because this is just a variable. So now if we want to print math, it says 15. So what we've learned so far is that printing is how you make stuff appear, how you talk to the user. Printing is how you talk to the user. There's 2 types of data that you can show to the user. You can show them a string, which are words or sentences, or you can show them numbers, which is just any number, and you just type it straight in. And so, and then we also learned about variables, which just hold data. So we just say a variable name and set it equal to a number, or we can set it to a word or sentence. And so the last thing we need to learn before we can start making our game is how to get input. If the computer's only talking to us, that's not very fun. We want to be able to talk to the computer. So the way that you talk to a computer is you say input, which is just getting input from the user, and then 2 little parentheses, a left parenthesis and then a right parenthesis. And this is what's called a function, but we'll talk about those later. So if we say input, then now you see it goes to the next line and it's just waiting. And so if we type something in, you can say hello, and it's going to print out what we typed in. So now the computer is taking in what we're giving it. And then right now it's just spitting it back out. So we say hello, and then it says hello. So what we can do now is we can say, here is, here is our, this is what the user says. The user says input. And then we can type something in. Hi, how are you? Now we can see what the user says. So we can store input into variables. So what just happened is we're getting input from the user. From us, we're talking to the computer, and it's storing it in a variable. And then we printed it out because we wanted to see what was stored in that variable. So user says, let's say something else, input, here's another input. We just say hello. And now we see what's inside user says, and we see that it's changed to hello. One other cool thing that you can do with input is if you put a string inside of it. So hello. Then it will actually print that string out. It'll show it, and then it will take input from the user. Then you can type and you can talk to the computer. So we say hello, and we say hi, and then it stores what we type in. So we can say input, then we put a string, which are words or sentences in here. So we can ask questions and get a response. All right, so let's clear this and let's start working on our adventure game. Are there any questions? Feel free to speak up, or you can throw it in the chat. All right, so if we're doing an adventure game, we should start off by saying welcome. We can say welcome to this adventure game. And then maybe what we want to do is we want to get a person's name. So we can say name, we want to store it in a variable. We can say name, get input from the user. What is your name? Traveler. And now just kind of see what this looks like so far. We say, welcome to this adventure game. What is your name? So I'm going to say Thomas, but then we don't have anything else, so it just ends. So let's continue. So we say, what is your name? And then we can say, hello. And then we're going to, if you remember, we talked about how you can print multiple things out in a row. So we're going to say hello name. Let's see, welcome to this adventure. And so now let's see what we have so far. So welcome to this adventure game. What is your name, traveler? Thomas. So now it says, hello, Thomas, welcome to this adventure. And so now we have a good starting point to make a super fun adventure game. And so we need a little bit of a story. Maybe we want to start off by asking, let's see, I want to ask a question, so we need to get input from the user. And so let's say this answer to the question we're about to ask, this input, so we want to ask them, get their input. Do you want to go on an adventure? So they can either say yes or no. And now the next thing we're about to learn is what's called an if statement. So just like in just like when you're talking to your friend, and you're like, hey, do you want to go to a movie? And they say yes. Well, if they say yes, then you want to actually go to the movie. If they say no, then you don't want to go to the movie. And so what we're going to say is if the answer is, let's do yes, and then you do a colon, which is on the right side of the keyboard. So if the answer is yes, then we want to say print. Okay, let's go on an adventure. And then we can say if answer is no, print. Okay, we will not go on an adventure. So what this is saying is we want to get their answer. So we're like, okay, I'm going to ask a question. What's your answer? And then we get input from the user and we say, do you want to go on an adventure? And it's either yes or no. So if the answer is yes, then we want to say, okay, let's go on an adventure. If the answer is no, then we want to say, okay, we will not go on an adventure. So let's see what we have so far. Okay, so what is going on right now is also what you can do is do equals equals. What this is saying is if this is equal to yes, then we'll do what's inside here. And so equals equals is how you check to see if two things are the same. And so Python didn't like is, which is okay. So now we can run it again. And so instead of saying is, you can think of the double equals as is. So if the answer is equal to yes, then we'll do that. So what is your name, traveler? Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Do you want to go on an adventure? Then I'll say yes. And it says, okay, let's go on an adventure. So are there any questions? Do I need to slow down, speed up? Feel free to throw it in the chat or speak up. All right, so now we have the basic format for an adventure game. And so now that we're going, let's say we go on an adventure and we're traveling along. So we need to tell them what's happening. So we're saying you're traveling along. I'm not sure. You're traveling along when a monster jumps out in front of you. So now let's have a variable for the monster. And maybe what we want to do is we want to store the monster's health. So we can say the monster health. I'll add an underscore just so it's easier to read. Monster health is equal to 5. So we gotta hit the monster 5 times and then the monster will go away. So the monster's health is 5 times or 5. And then now we want to ask the user. So let's get an answer. Do you want to fight the monster? If the answer is yes, then let's say you hit the monster and the monster loses 1, we'll say 2 health. Loses 2 health. And so what we can do with variables, like we talked about earlier, we can do math. And so let's say monster health is equal to 5 minus 2. So this is going to make it 3. But instead of printing 5, we know it's 5, but maybe it's something else. So what we can do is we can actually just put monster health. And it's going to put that 5 in here, and then it's going to subtract 2. And so we hit the monster, and it loses 2 health. And so maybe let's print out how much health the monster has. So we can say monster health. And then if you remember, we can print out multiple things. So we can say monster health, and then we can print out how much health the monster has. So let's run this super fast just to see what that looks like. What is your name? My name is Thomas. Do you want to go on an adventure? Yes. Okay, let's go on an adventure. You're traveling along when a monster jumps out in front of you. Do you want to fight the monster? Yes. You hit the monster and the monster loses 2 health. So now the monster's health is at 3. So we'll probably want to hit the monster again. And so we can say, or we can ask it. I'll copy this. So we can just copy what we did before and paste it. So we want to ask a question. So we want to get an answer. So we ask question, do you want to fight the monster? But maybe it's, instead of saying that, we'll say, do you want to hit the monster again? If answer is yes, then we want to have the monster health. And we want to, maybe this time it hits for 3. And so we want to subtract health from the monster, and it hits for 3. So now we know that the monster's health is 0, but maybe we want to check for that. So we want to say if monster health is equal to, and remember it's the 2 equal signs because we're checking to see if the 2 things are the same. So if monster health is the same as equal to 0, which means the monster doesn't have any more health, then we want to say the monster has no more health and runs away. So now what this is doing is we hit the monster again, we subtract more health from it, and now the monster doesn't have any more health. And so since it has no more health, it runs away. And so right now we have the starting point for a story. We're able to get the person's name, and we can welcome them into the adventure, and we can ask yes or no questions. And we have a monster which has a certain amount of health, and we're able to subtract from it. But maybe instead of doing each of these by themselves, copy and pasting, we want to put it inside of a loop. So what a loop is, just like it sounds, is it will keep doing the same thing over and over and over again until some condition, until something happens to make the loop stop. And so let's continue the story. And then just a quick note on the spacing. You see how we have this if statement. We're saying if answer is yes, and then there's a tab. The tabs are super important. What the tab does is everything that is further over, further to the right under this will only run if the answer is yes. And so down here, you can see that this line is the same distance to the right as this. And so this will run, maybe if the answer was no, then it's going to jump straight here. And so actually, before we go into loops, let's handle what happens if the answer is no. And so the way that you can do that is what's called else. So if you are going back to the movie question, so if you're asking your friend, do you want to go to the movie? If the answer is yes, then you want to go to the movie. Else, otherwise, maybe you go do something else. You go to the park instead. So if we can say else, oh, and it tabs it all the way over there. And so if the answer is yes, then we hit the monster again. Else, which was going to happen if the answer is no, then we want to say maybe the monster runs away anyway. So it didn't even matter that we had to hit the monster again. The monster gets scared and runs away. And so let's see what happens with this. So what is your name? My name is Thomas. Do you want to go on an adventure? So we're right here. Hello. Do you want to go on an adventure? Then we're getting a response if the answer is yes. Let's see what happens with this one. If we say no, then it skips everything in here because it's further to the right. And it goes down here and says, if the answer is no, then we will not go on an adventure. So let's do the same thing. My name is Thomas. Do you want to go adventure? Yes. So now we make it here. And do you want to fight the monster? No, I don't. And so we get the response no. Do you want to fight the monster? If the answer is yes, then we'll do everything in here. Otherwise, we're going to say the monster gets scared and runs away. So using this same format, let's change this to else also. And so this is going to say if the answer is yes, then we'll do everything inside here. Else, if the answer is not yes, then we're going to say we're not going to go on an adventure. All right, so let's go back to loops. So a loop is just going to run the same code over and over again until you tell it to stop. And so the way you do that is you say while. And so while something is true, while something is, while some condition is true, then we're just going to keep executing the code inside the while loop. So maybe we can say while the monster health is not equal to, so the exclamation point is how you say is not. So we want to say while the monster's health is not equal to 0, then we do another colon. And when we hit enter, we can see it tabs over. So now it's further over to the right. And so while the monster's health is not equal to 0, maybe we want to ask a question. Do you want to hit the monster? And so we're saying while the monster's health is not 0, because if it is 0, then that means the monster is going to run away. So while the monster's health is not 0, We want to ask you want to hit the monster. If answer is yes, then we want to do monster health equals monster health minus 1. And then maybe if the answer is no, we don't hit the monster. Let's say the monster loses health anyway. It's equal to monster health, but it loses it a lot faster. So monster health is, we'll just say minus 1 also. So no matter what, the monster's health is going to go down. And then let's print out, let's tell the user how much health the monster has. So monster health is equal to monster health. And so what's happening here, while the monster's health is not 0, so while the monster still has health, while he still has health, we want to ask if we want to hit the monster. The answer is yes, we hit him and he loses 1 health. And then just so that the monster will eventually lose health, no matter what, he loses another health. So let's see what this looks like. Yes, I want to go on an adventure. Do you want to fight the monster? Let's say no. And then I forgot that he ran away, but that's okay. Do you want to hit the monster? Yes. So now you can see that the monster's health is 4, but then it asks us the same question. So we're inside of this loop. So it's going to do everything in here until the monster's health is 0. Because while it's not 0, we're going to do it, which means that whenever it is 0, so do you want to hit the monster? Yes, 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 yes. And then we see that the monster's health is 0 and the code stops running, which means that we made it outside of this loop. We can say the monster ran away. And then let's make him not run away up here, just so the story makes a little bit more sense. So the monster ran away. And so now we have a simple story where you're walking along, you're traveling along, and a monster jumps out in front of you. We're able to track the monster's health. We're able to hit the monster until he loses health. And so now, maybe what we want to do is we want to collect items along the way. And so the way that we will collect an item, we'll need to have a bag for them. So let's create a bag, a variable called bag. And we're going to do a new type of data, a different type of data called an array, which is really just, or it's called a list in Python. And it's really just, it's a bag. So the way you make a list is you do 2 brackets, which are it creates like a little square. And so our bag is these 2 brackets. And you just do a left side and a right side. And let's go play around on the right side a little bit so we can learn how to use the bag. So we have a bag. And now let's print what's inside our bag. And we can see that there's nothing inside the bag right now. And so let's say our bag has a banana in it. So our bag has a banana in it. So we can see what's inside the bag. And we can see that it has a banana. And we can add stuff to our bag doing something called append, which just means add. And so we have our bag, and then you put a little dot next to it. And we're just going to say we're going to add something to this bag. So bag dot append, and let's add an apple. So let's add an apple to the bag. And then you don't see anything happen. But if we look what's inside the bag now, we have banana and an apple. And so this can be super useful because if we're traveling along, we might want to collect items, collect food. But if we're only adding stuff to the bag and we don't ever take anything out, or we can't grab an item from the bag, then that's not very useful. So what we need to do is we need to be able to access that bag. And the way that you can do that is you'd say bag, and then inside of brackets, you're going to put the position of the item that you want to take out. And so the position is just a number, and it's going to start at 0. So the banana is at position 0, and an apple is at position 1. And so if we want to say bag and position 0 inside the brackets, then we can see that it says banana. So bag at position 0 is banana. And then we can look at what's in bag position 1, and it's apple. But if we try to see what's in position 2, which would be over here, we'll see that we get this error. So you have to access only items that are in the bag, only positions that are in the bag. You can't go outside of that. All right. If we want to take an item out, there is something called pop. So we can say bag.pop, and it's going to take off the last item. So we can say bag.pop, and it takes it out of the bag. So now it's not even in the bag anymore. So if we want to look what's inside our bag, now we can see there's only the banana. We do bag.pop again, we can see that now there's nothing in our bag anymore. And so let's add some stuff again. So let's add an apple, let's add a banana, let's add a grape. So you can also take certain items. So let's say we want to get the banana. We know that it's at position 1 because apple's at position 0, banana's at position 1, and then the grape is at position 2. So we can say bag.pop. We want to take the banana, so it's at position 1. So we just put that number in there. And we can see that it takes out the banana. And then there's nothing in our bag, or there's no banana in our bag anymore. All right, so going back to our game, we have our bag, and let's say let's add a banana. So we have our bag of bananas, and you get hungry. So let's say the person's name, which we did earlier, we said name. It looks like you are hungry. That's very important, so we do it with an exclamation point. Let's ask a question. So we'll have a variable called answer. Do you want to eat anything. Let's ask them if they want to eat anything. And then let's also tell them what they have in their bag to eat. So let's just print out the bag. So now it's going to ask, do you want to eat anything? It's going to tell you everything that you can eat. And so let's have the answer, let's have them put the position of what they want, or actually, we'll just ask yes or no. So if the answer is yes, then let's grab the banana. So let's have a variable called banana is equal to bag.pop that we just learned. So it's going to take the banana out of the bag. And then let's tell the user, you eat, and let's tell them what they just ate, which is that banana. You eat a banana. So what is your name? Let's see what this looks like. Do you want to go on an adventure? Yes. Do you want to fight the monster? Yes. Do you want to hit the monster again? Yes. So we hit the monster again. The monster has no more health and runs away. Thomas, it looks like you're hungry. Do you want to eat anything? And then did I print out the bag? Oh, it's waiting for some input first. Yes. So we have that banana in there. And now it took out the banana. And then it tells us you eat a banana. And so what it did, it just took the banana out. And now our bag is empty and we ate a banana. And so maybe, since this is an adventure game, maybe our character has health. So let's create a variable called, let's just call it health. And maybe you start off with 100 health. And so, do you want to eat anything? We said yes. And so eating banana, let's say that gives you 5 health. And so we can say health. We can say that health is equal to health plus 5. And so let's tell the user how much health they have. We can say print your health is health. And so now we have a way to track how much health the user has, how much the player has, and we're able to store things in a bag. So we can store food, we can store items that we collect along our adventure. We're able to fight monsters and keep track of how much health monsters have. And so let's say that we're walking along. So let's tell the user we're walking along. You are walking along and another monster jumps out. So combining everything we just worked on, we can say, let's put it inside of a loop, which means we need to keep track of how much health that the monster has. So we can have the monster health again. Let's set it to 10. And then while monster health, and let's do a different type of check. We're going to say greater than. And so what greater than is this little symbol right here. So if the monster health is greater than 0, then we want to fight the monster. So while monster health is greater than 0, let's fight the monster. And so let's start off by printing out your health. And then we can print the monster health. And so now we know how much health everybody has. And you hit the monster. So we're fighting the monster. The monster health is going to go down. Let's make it go down by 2. But this time, the monster hits you. So now we just lost health. So health is equal to health minus 10. So the monster hits us, we hit the monster. Now let's ask if we want to keep fighting. Keep fighting. If, let's see, if the answer is yes, well, actually, if the answer is yes, then we don't want to do anything. We just want to keep going through this loop. So if the answer is no, we're going to do something called a break, which means we're going to break out of the loop. And so we don't have to wait for this to happen. We don't have to wait for the monster's health to go to be 0. We can just break out of it. And so let's tell the user what's happening. So you decide not to fight. You run away. And so we decide not to fight and we run away. And so now we're going to break out of this loop. The monster will still have health, but we won't fight the monster anymore. And so let's look at what this looks like. What is your name? My name's Thomas. Do you want to go to adventure? Yes. Do you want to fight the monster? Yes. So we hit the monster, loses 2 health. Yes. Looks like we're hungry. Do you want to eat anything? Yes, we do. So we eat a banana. So our health is at 105. And then we're walking along and another monster jumps out. We have 105 health. The monster has 10. We hit the monster hits you. Do we want to keep fighting? Let's say yes, see what happens. So we get hit again, or we got hit, so our health is at 95. The monster health is at 8. So we hit the monster hits you, keep fighting. Let's say no. So we decide not to fight and you run away, and then you see that it breaks out. So it breaks out of this loop. The monster still had health. So it was still greater than 0. The monster still had health, but we broke out of the loop. And so a break is whenever it doesn't make sense to keep running this code anymore. So you just break out. Are there any questions? Anything I should need to explain more? No? All right. So now let's add stuff to our bag. We have the bag and we had a banana in it, but we ate that banana. And so let's be able to pick up items and add it to our bag. So we walk by an apple tree. And on this apple tree, so let's have the tree. Maybe it has some apples on it. And so we have our tree, and we are storing a bag of apples. But instead of a bag, it's a tree. So it just has 3 apples on it. And so we walk by an apple tree. Let's figure out how many apples there are. So we can easily count since there's only 3, but we can also have the computer count for us. And so the way you do that is, so let's have number apples, is you do something called len, L-E-N, which just stands for length. So we have the length, which is going to say how long is this list. And so there's 1, 2, 3. And so the length of this list is 3. So we want to say the length, the len of tree. So that's going to be how many apples are on this tree. So len is length, so len of tree. And then we can just see that in action over here. If we have apple, 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 oopsie. And we want to look at the length of tree. We can see that it says 3. And if you remember, we can add to lists. So let's add another apple. So we do tree dot append, which means add, and we add an apple. So now we can see that the length of tree is 4. So it's going to count how many things are in the list. And just so we can see that, you can see that there are 4 apples. And so we're walking by an apple tree and it has 3 apples on it. So maybe let's ask the user, let's get some input from them. Do you want to collect the apples? Like we've been doing before, let's ask, if answer is equal to yes, then we want to collect an apple. And so the way we do that, we have an apple, we want to sort in a variable. So we can say tree.pop. So we're going to take an apple from the tree. And then let's print out the tree to see how many apples are left. And then let's print out our bag, and let's label this so we can understand what is being printed out. So tree, our bag, so we take the apple off, And then we want to add it to our bag. So we say bag.append our apple. And so it's going to add it to the bag. And then there's 3 apples. So we don't want to have to type this 3 times and ask the user. So what we want to do is we want to say while number of apples is greater than 0. So while there's still apples on the tree, we want to go through this loop. And so we'll have to move everything over because we need it under further to the right than this. We move it over. So then we collect an apple. If we don't want to collect an apple anymore, so else we want to break out of this loop. And then the very last thing we want to do is we want to figure out how many apples are left. So we say number apples is equal to the length of tree. And so it's going to loop through while there's still apples on the tree. Do you want to collect the apples? Yes. So it takes off the apple by popping it, puts inside of this variable called apple, and we print out our tree, which will show us how many more apples are left on the tree. And we want to add it to our bag. And then we want to tell the user what's inside of their bag. And then this is going to figure out how many apples are left, and it's going to loop through while there's still more than 0 apples on the tree. And then after we collect apples, let's say you are done collecting apples. And let's tell the player how many apples they have in their bag. You can say bag, and then you can do a comma, because you remember we can just print multiple things together. So it's bag, and we print out that bag. So let's run through what we have so far. Your name, Thomas. Do you want to go on an adventure? Yes. Do you want to fight the monster? Yes. Do you want to hit the monster again? Yes. So the monster has no more health and runs away. The monster ran away. Looks like you're hungry. Do you want to eat anything? Yes. So we had a banana in our bag. We eat the banana. We have 105 health. Another monster jumps out. We have 105 health. Monster has 10 health. We hit the monster hits us, but we don't want to keep fighting, so we run away. And then we're walking by an apple tree. This is what we just worked on. Do you want to collect the apples? Yes. So there's that tree. We took off an apple and then we put it in our bag. Do you want to collect the apples? Yes. So you can see that another apple was taken off the tree and we put it in our bag. So there were 2 on the tree. Now there's only 1. There's 1 in our bag, and now there are 2. Do you want to collect the apples? Yes. And now the tree doesn't have any more apples. We can see that our bag has all the apples, and it says that we're done collecting apples. And we can see what's inside our bag. All right. Any questions? Anything that was confusing or you want me to talk about again? All right, so I'll just do a quick little summary of what we've learned about so far. So I will do it over here. We learned about how to talk to the user through a print. So we can say print, and we can put in a string, but we learned that strings are words or sentences, but you can also print out numbers. You can say print 10. And then you can also do math. So we can say print 10 plus 5. And it's going to do that math for us. But we can also store these strings and numbers into variables. So we have a variable. We can name it anything we'd like. And we can say x is equal to 10. And we can print out x. We can also print out multiple things together. So we can print out a word, and we can print out that variable. So print word and then 10. Then we talked about how to get input from the user. So we can say an answer is equal to input our question. So say a question and get our response. We say yes, and it's going to store that response. And we can do if statements, which checks to see if things are similar. So we can say if answer is equal to, the double equal means equivalent. So we compare it. So if answer is yes, then we can do something else. So we can say print hello. Oh, let's try that again. We have to tab over, print hello. So then we learned about arrays, which are lists, which you can think of like a bag. So we have a bag, and you can add stuff to that bag with append. We can add an apple. We can remove stuff from our bag with pop, takes it out. And then we also learned how to get the length, the number of items in a bag using len. And then lastly, we learned about loops. So we can say while. We can say while the length of bag is not 0, and print hi. But since the bag was 0, it never runs this. And so let's add something to the bag. See it working. So we say while the length of bag is not equal to 0. Oh, that's actually going to run for a very long time. Actually, here we'll do this. So while length of bag is not equal to 0, we can say bag.pop. So it's going to just take out those items until it's 0. So you can see it popped it, and then the length was 0, so it stopped running. And then last we learned about breaks, which will just break out of the loop at any point in time that we want. And so that's everything that we've learned today. I think Anna Maria, you are one of the few people are left. We also have Kale and Hassan. Are there any questions? This is the basic format of how you can create a game with Python. These are the basics of Python: variables, loops, lists, if statements. And so you just put these tools together and you can build whatever you want. So if there are no questions, I think we can probably wrap up. Yes, it looks like Kale, do you have a question?
Yes, I made a game and I wanted you to play it. Will you play it?
Do you want me to, do you want to share your screen?
No, I want you to play it.
Okay, how do I play it?
I don't know. Can I email
How about
you or something?
you can email me the code and I'll put it in here.
Yeah. Okay. I emailed it to you. Don't look at it too much.
Okay, so here,
Let's hope it doesn't screw up.
I don't know how well it will paste. Oh, what the? Cannot. Okay. Okay. How about a quest? Yes, no. Yes. Perfect. You need to pay attention very closely. This is to ensure that you have the capacity for this quest. 5 cities will flash before your eyes. Remember them in that order. Press enter to ready up. Enter. Bro. It was like Bergham. Does capitalization matter?
It does.
Bergham. And then second one's leave per. I may be cheating.
Dang it.
All of them are right here.
Uh,
You know, but let's say I mess up. So I died unexpectedly.
Oops.
But this is a good example of a game that you could make. What happens if you keep going? Let's play it again. Yes. And leave per minimum Rolaga.
You gotta do them individually.
Oh, I'm done. Per minimum Rolaga. Well done. You've passed. Here, take a croissant. Will help you on your way to Bergham. You'll need to head east to get to Bergham. West might work, but it'll be more difficult. There will be putrid trolls along the way. Find a way to defeat them and keep going east. The 4th troll is actually not putrid. Figure out his name and he'll help you along this quest. This is all I can help you with. This quest will have many rewards and I wish you luck. Which direction do you want to go? I want to go east.
Okay, yeah, that's all.
Cool. All right, so there's a fun little game that you could make. With coding, with Python, you can create any game that you want. That's the power of coding. And so if there are no more questions, I think we're done for today. If you have any questions, feel free just to speak up, throw it in the chat. And thank you so much for taking the time to come out here and learn about Python. We have lessons almost every week. And so next week, I'm not sure what our lesson is, but more game type stuff. And so feel free to come back to learn more. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. That was great. Yeah, I think next weekend might be Hassan. No, Sean might be Sean with a Unity overview. I'm pretty sure. And I think that's on Sunday. But we'll put it up on the Eventbrite. So for who's still here? Anna Maria, if you follow us on Eventbrite, you can see that.
Great.
Okay, good deal. Did you make a game?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, you'll be able to make a game after this.
Yes, sure. It was very helpful indeed.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, yeah. We're glad that you came, and we hope we see you next weekend. Hey, Thomas, you know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you played this, but the Oregon Trail. Have you played the Oregon
Mhm.
Trail?
I've played versions of it.
Oh, I didn't know there were versions of it.
Well, like a
Oh.
more modern version of it.
Oh, really? Oh. Well, how similar is this to what's going on behind the scenes in the Oregon Trail?
It would be exactly the same type of code that's going on, a bunch of loops
Mhm.
and asking question. So
Okay,
very similar.
cool, cool. Well, I thought that was great. I really enjoyed it. Ellie thought that you were a little bit hard on the monster, honestly.
Well, he just ran away. He didn't die. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. He deserves it. He deserves it. Humane Society. Hopefully, they don't get their hands on this video.
seriously.
All right, cool. I'm gonna stop the live YouTube stream. All right. Appreciate it, Thomas. Good to see y'all. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.